Hey everybody, I'm Ray with Nimrod Collective, and today I wanted to go over how to install our short Qsert light bar that's meant for the short slot on the Minifix handguard. Okay, I'm over here at the bench. Got everything laid out for you. Up here is kind of what's going to be included in the package. It'll all be bundled up, and in this black packaging you'll get a sticker. This card has torque values on it, as well as the fastener sizes that you'll need to get everything installed. It'll come with the mount itself, one of the Qsert mount bolts, and then you'll get two different pairs of light body bolts. There will be a short and a long. In my testing, I've noticed that a lot of the different bodies kind of have different thread depths where you would mount these bolts into the mount itself. Most of them are going to be able to get away with the long bolts. There are a couple of bodies that I've tried to use that just don't have the thread length for those to fit, and so that's why I've included the shorter ones. So if you're going to install this and you run into any resistance with the longer bolts as you're trying to install everything before it gets really tight, I would remove those and move to the shorter light body bolts. But if you're able to get away with these, I would definitely use those because the added thread engagement is going to be a little bit stronger for you. And that's everything that comes in the package. So to do the install, you're going to need the mount, you're going to need light body of your choice, whatever it is that you like to run. As far as the install, you're going to need a T20, which is for the Qsert mount bolt to mount the mount to the rail itself. And then you'll need a T15 for either of the light body screws. You're going to want some kind of torque device. I like the Wheeler Fat Wrench. There's a bunch of other ones available on Amazon or through other manufacturers that work just as good. I just happened to get one of these before a lot of those were available. You can also use, a torque wrench, whatever you got available, as long as it does inch-pounds, because that's what this is all going to be done in. So overall, these are not too difficult to install. Let me get this moved over a little bit. I guess to start, just to be safe, there's no mag in here, but always make sure you're working with a cleared firearm. So this short Qsert light mount, it's got the shorter slot length. It's meant to fit on the Minifix at the 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock positions using these short slot sections. And these really aren't too difficult. They're meant to mount these Scout style lights. Typically, Surefire bodies have tested this with Streamlight, some of the ProTac stuff that has that same mounting footprint, and they all seem to fit. I haven't run into anything yet that blatantly doesn't fit. I haven't been able to test O-Light. I did get some feedback that some of the cloud defensive lights might be a little bit tight to get mounted here, but it does work. So just be careful when you're doing the install. But with all of the light bodies that I've tested, I haven't run into one that doesn't work with this, as long as it's got that Surefire style Scout light mount pattern. So to do the install, you're going to take your light. A lot of them will have these little recoil lugs, I guess you could say. Just keeps them from moving around, and that's why there is a channel on this light mount. And so that kind of just sits in there, and then you'll flip it over and you'll get these holes lined up, and then you can get your bolt started. This is one of the ones, like I was talking about, that can utilize these longer screws, so I'm going to go ahead and get those installed. I like to kind of install it in the mount and then get it started in the light. Kind of just go really light, finger tight, to make sure it's in there. You can get the other one going. It's definitely harder to do this on camera than it is not having to record, but I'll just get this other one started. Kind of get them both hand tight. Nothing crazy. Just that way they're on there. And then you'll take your bit, Get your torque wrench set. Since these are the T15 Torx bits, they're 20 inch-pounds. They're 832 bolts. So you'll just set your torque driver to 20 inch-pounds. And you can get those tightened down. They should be good with just torque. I haven't had anything come loose yet through, a few hundred rounds of testing per mount on this thing. If you decide you want to use Loctite for a little bit of added reassurance that it's not going to come out, I would recommend blue on these, because at some point you're probably going to want to remove them. You don't want them to be semi-permanently mounted. But if you do use Loctite, included on the card is some torque values for, wet torque. So if you use blue Loctite, you're going to use the lower torque values, so it'll be 15 inch-pounds for the T15 hardware. Since I'm not using any Loctite, I'm going to go ahead and tighten these to the 20 inch-pounds. So easy enough. And then your light will be mounted and fastened to the mount itself. Go ahead and get rid of my bit. So to install the mount onto the handguard, let's get you guys a little bit zoomed in, actually. So like I said, it's meant to be run kind of in these front short slots on the minifix handguards, and they're not too difficult to install. You'll see, if I can get it to focus, on the mount, you've got this little lip ledge here, whatever you want to call it, finger, and then this slot, and you're just gonna kind of install that into the handguard underneath this lip here, and then you're gonna hinge it down, and it should line up with the bolt hole there. These can, depending on tolerances of the handguards and the anodizing on the mount itself, there might be a little bit of force required to get it down in there. It shouldn't really damage anything. They're both hard coat anodized, and it's really been handguard to handguard that I found the tolerances to vary. But you're just gonna slip it in there, like I said, and then you push down on the back, and then you'll see there that lines up that bolt hole. This one is on the looser side of tolerance, so it's got a little bit of wiggle room for you to get that hole lined up exactly how you need to. Then you're going to take your T20, which is the 1032 bolt for mounting the mount to the handguard. There we go. It's just this little countersunk bolt. And you'll take your T20 fastener, and again, I just like to get these things hand tight and started before applying torque. So you'll kind of get that lined up, get it started, get it hand tight so it's in there. That mount doesn't really move around anymore. Then you'll take your bit, get your torque driver set. So for these bolts, it's 32 inch-pounds dry. Like I was saying before, if you're going to decide to use Loctite on this, I would recommend blue so you can get it out later. And if you use Loctite, I would use the reduced torque setting of 24 inch-pounds. Since I'm doing this dry, I'll use the main one up here, which is 32 inch-pounds. So as soon as you got your torque driver set, same thing. Since this hand's tight, you're just going to give it a good torque in the handguard. I usually give it a couple just to make sure it's seated. And there you go. The light mount's installed with the light body and everything. And then you can kind of you don't have to have the head installed. Typically when I install these, I install just the light body and I'll get everything on and then I'll put them on. But as you saw, the light head doesn't have to come off or anything. Tail cap does, because depending on what you're running, it could interfere with this. So after you get it installed, you can just get everything on the light installed, put the battery in, put the head on, install whatever tail cap of choice you're running on here. I'll just do the push button for this example. You can run remote style switch if you want, but this is easy enough to hit on the handguard. So like I said, that's typically what I run. And then you got your working light on your minifix. And then just for some added information, I've tested this with Q suppressors and it works fine. There will be a little bit of a gap between the suppressor body and this, which is what you want. You don't want anything moving with, heat or resonance or anything like that and contacting each other. And I have actually tested this mount with up to a 2-inch diameter suppressor. I don't know what's out there that's that big right now that you would be running on a setup like this. I think a lot of them are either really big bore suppressors or 9mm like the Gemtech, but I have tested it up to 2-inch diameter. I haven't tested it past that. So just, if you're running something off the wall that's really big, I would test fitment before you start trying to take this thing out and use it. But I have, like I said, I've tested it with up to 2 inches and it works fine, including the Q suppressors. And I think that's about it. This one's pretty straightforward. You can check it out on the website. It's nimrodcollective.com. Qsert, or not Qsert, sorry. QR code is going to take you to the website if you want to scan that, and you'll be able to find these. And of course, if you ever have any questions or anything like that, my email's on the site. It's just info@nimrodcollective.com. Reach out and I will assist you where I can. If you need any help with install or got any questions about light mounts or anything like that, I'd be happy to help if I'm able to. So just reach out, but thank you for watching. All right, so I just also wanted to throw in here, if you're gonna remove this, take the bolt out all the way, otherwise this thing is not gonna wanna hinge out. And so when you go to remove this, just like when you're going in, there might be a little bit of resistance. When you're coming out, try not to yank it off like this. You wanna kinda apply upward pressure on the back or downward pressure here, and then also towards the back of the gun at the same time, and it'll kind of just pop out of that slot like that. You're really just trying to get past this finger before you lever it up, otherwise it could break that off. So if you need to remove it for any reason, that's what you do. Just kind of let me get it back in there for you. Just kind of, I just let the light fall forward like that, and then you kind of just push down on the back a little bit while you're also pushing that way, and it'll just pop out. And there you go.